All right, so welcome everybody. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. This is Fabio Nascimbeni from the European Training Foundation. I'm proud to welcome you in this webinar organized, as you can see, in this web page by the European Training Foundation, based in Torino, a European Union agency based in Torino working on education and training, by the UNESCO UNEVOC Friends and by International Council for Open and Distance Education. So basically, we joined forces with the objective of pushing the concept of open educational resources and open education more in general in the field of vocational education and training. As we know, OER is, let's say, is a quite known concept in higher education, but is not so well known and well developed in VET, in vocational education and training, or in technical education, and that's why we decided to let's say, organize this event. In this event, I'm just scrolling down the agenda. After this very quick welcome, we will give the floor to Lisa Petrides from ICD and ISCME. She is I would say, top expert in the field of open educational resources, working in the area since a long time, and she will actually present to us what OER are, with keeping, let's say, the balance between inclusion and innovation. We will hear from her on this. And then we will hear about two cases of real-life use of OER within vocational training. One will be from Ontario, one will be from Germany, so I will introduce the speakers later. And finally, we will hear about some support tools and ways for you as educators, managers, experts, or practitioners in the field of vocational training, the tools that you can use in order to embed some open educational resources and open educational practices in your work, in the work of your school. And at the end, we will have, as usual, some open time, some time for open discussion, since this is an event that we decided to organize on the spot, but we might decide in the future to organize other activities in this field and in this area. Stop sharing. Now you should see the speakers. Again, as I was saying before, feel free to use the chat in order to ask questions, or if something is not clear, and then at a certain point you will also be more than welcome to speak and take the floor with questions. If all is clear, we are recording the webinar, and this will be also made available to your colleagues in the future. So if all is clear, I would like to give the floor to Lisa Petrides for the introductory presentation. Lisa, I think you can, yes, you are sharing your slides already, so I will shut up and leave you the floor. Lisa, you're muted.
Right, thank you. Are you able to see the first slide?
Yes, but very small and only in half of the screen. Maybe they are not in presentation mode.
Okay, I'm gonna change modes then. Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move from presenter mode to full mode.
It's very early where you are, so you are allowed to any small mistake as you want.
Let me try again. Okay, now are you seeing the big screen?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, terrific, great. Thank you very much, Fabio, and thank you so much to invite me to be part of this conversation today. I'm going to talk about open education resources a little bit generally for those of you who maybe aren't as familiar, but then kind of go right into some explanation about inclusion and innovation and some of the remarkable things that are happening today in OER, but also about what some of the potential is in things like vocational education and training as well. So it's not moving. Okay. So just quickly about ISKME. We were founded in 2002. We're a US-based NGO addressing issues of access and equity in education. So our mission is about making learning and knowledge sharing participatory, equitable, and open by three main ways we do. We conduct research that informs policy and practice. We bring library science expertise to the development of open education platforms and tools. For example, some of you may have heard of OER Commons. And we do a lot of professional training on open education practice that builds the capacity for engagement and collaboration among educators and students. I think if we've learned anything in the last 20 years about open education, it's that if we don't have the practice and build the capacity, we aren't able to make use of the affordances of OER. Now, there's many definitions of OER. All of them have a slightly different flavor or spice to them. This is UNESCO's definition, which is very agreed upon by many, but it's a teaching or learning or research material in any format or medium that resides either in the public domain, and public domain is different from country to country, or under copyright that have been released under an open license that permits no cost, access, reuse, repurpose, adaptation, and redistribution by others. Now, again, just to tell you, to tie in what we do to what I think is so important today to discuss. So we have this very broadly accessible digital infrastructure for sharing free curricular resources. But it's important that it's aligned with UN and the Sustainable Development Goals, specifically SDG 4, which says to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. So it's very clear from, I think, the SDG 4 that this is not just something that we're doing in schools and formal education. It's informal education, it's vocational education, adult learning. And then also, we support UNESCO's OER recommendation by building the capacity for the use and reuse of OER. Now, why license materials to share and use? What's the benefit? Well, they're accessed for free, all right, and they're available across many subject areas and grade levels. Many in different languages, but English is often still the primary language. Open licensing permits that you can change it and customize it and make it very well positioned to improve accessibility. If it's a commercial resource, you're not allowed to change it and customize it. So openly licensing it is very key. And then it also enables the remixing and the localization, which means that the resource can be modified for greater content and responsiveness. And that includes not only the context, the language, the grade level, the application, who actually is using the resource. Excuse me. I just wanted to give you one example from UNESCO from their ICT competency framework. This is kind of similar to VET. I'm not sure some of you might consider it VET, this competency framework for teachers. It is for teachers in the classroom, but it's also for countries that are trying to promote ICT competencies. And there are many member states of UNESCO that are part of this project. And I'm just going to show it to you briefly, just what they're doing so that we can think about how that could actually translate to vocational educational training. So specifically, there's a hub that they have created by UNESCO and their partner countries that creates a community of practice. Now, the content is aligned to their competency framework. And this is really important because when content in a discipline is aligned to a framework, and then everybody understands what it is, what kind of standards it meets, and what it's for. And that goes a long way in the actual use. It also provides content discovery and connections with other educators who are using ICT to improve teaching practice. It also informs policymakers, which is really an important piece because even if we're doing work on the ground, if we aren't informing the policymakers around professional learning, then we're not going to have the long term, the educational reform that we're looking for. And this is certainly true in VET. We call it CTE in the States. And then it also, they're assisting member states in developing these competency standards for teaching and learning through master plans. So again, very much, maybe somebody could mute that person if they haven't just done that. This is just an example of some of the member states through UNESCO that are working in this community of practice around ICT in the competency framework for teachers. So I suspect as we talk more later with those of you who actually are doing VET, you will in fact be able to apply some of these principles in the same way. So I've took the liberty to say, what are those best practices that we're using in other areas around OER and how they might apply over to vocational educational training. And it really comes down to building capacity. It really comes down to the practice. Now, what are those things? There's really 5 of them. One of them is that curriculum is aligned to the program standards, whatever that specific area is. That the co-creation of the curriculum has some kind of quality alignment or quality rubric. Again, so we have some agreement on what it is these resources are and how we want them used. So that professional development is based on instructional strategies, so not just on the content itself. You can have a lot of great content. If you don't have professional development that understands how you can best use the instructional strategies to use this content, you don't get the full benefit of it. You're just teaching it like it was always taught. I can't emphasize enough about the ongoing support for collaboration through this hub that UNESCO has. And there's many places where communities of practice can live. This one happens to live on a hub on OER Commons. But the other piece is around the integration between, academic or scholarly and industry. Like, do we really know what those standards are that we're using on the subject matter, but what is the actual demand from industry? What is it that we're looking for? Have we done and do we understand that integration as we're actually creating resources? This is just an example from one of the pages in our library, our digital public library. You can just see career and technical education on the left, and it has what some of those areas are: agriculture, culinary arts, graphic design, manufacturing. And by the way, I'm not sure, Fabio, how to do this, but these slides are completely, can be made available afterwards as well.
Absolutely, I'm sure.
Great. Here's another one. It's a Center for Agroecology. So there's already a lot of, I'm going to say, vocational training materials that are there. They're not necessarily organized or curated in a way where one can find them all. So I think this is my last slide. I just want to say, is a digital public good, which is what I think OER are, what are the problems that the use of OER addresses? And I think this is important because we don't want to just say use OER for the sake of using OER. What's the point, right? I'm sorry, I'm fighting a cold, so taking sips of water here. It supports the creation and access to high quality content, multilingual included. It enables collaboration to adapt and localize content, both for context and relevancy. It is designed for accessibility in multiple modes of engagement, and there's a lot of interesting work now being done specifically around accessibility. It's happening in South Africa, it's happening in Qatar, it's happening in the US. In fact, we saw some of this in Dubai last week at the OER Congress. And lastly, and I think this is important, that it really supports the transformation of teaching and learning because it is specifically training those trainers to evaluate content, to apply standards, to vet content for its quality. So I'm going to stop there right now. I'm not in the San Francisco today, but this is where I live. This is the San Francisco Bay Bridge. This is my email if you have any questions. That is our website, iscme.org, and oercommons.org is the digital library of OER that I mentioned. So Fabio, I'm going to finish here. I'm not sure if there's questions. You want to leave time for questions or?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you very much, and a virtual clap for you. I mean, I know that presenting OER in such a short time is not easy, but you passed the message. I think that this is a very accessible approach in one sentence to make vet teaching and the vet ecosystem more inclusive and at the same time more innovative. So with a lot of leverages for teaching and learning innovation without having to pay a price, but at the same time being more inclusive. So it's a win-win. I don't know if there are any questions. I know that Maria Pia was asking if it's possible to share the slides. Yes, the slides will be shared. And these slides are actually an OER per se. So they are actually an open education resources that in this moment Lisa was using to build some capacity and that you can use to build capacity your, on your side as well. So that's a living example of this. Let me see if there are any questions. If somebody would like also to pose a question by speaking, I think we have 3 or 4 minutes for this. So don't be shy in case if something is not clear. By the way, the web is quite full of mini courses, guidelines on use of OER. So let's say it will not be, and actually what Max will present afterwards from Univoc, it's also a collection of actually issues and I would say guidelines and toolkits connected to OER. So there is a lot that you can learn from, but it's always good to hear from this. Okay. And the recording will also be made available after the webinar. Yes, everybody who registered will receive the recording. Okay, so if there are no questions, actually, feel free to take your time, and Lisa will stay with us, so you can also ask your questions later on. But now is the time to move into a couple of real life cases, and there is here exactly another some offers for collaboration already in the chat. So thank you, Jay. Now. OER is a very powerful concept and is something, as we were saying, easy to implement. But for one reason or another, if you look at, as we try to do with UNESCO Univoc, if you look at cases of real life implementation within vocational training, especially at institutional level, you don't find so many. I think we need to admit this. Whilst in higher education, you have I would say, a more mature ecosystem. I think it's safe to say that. And so we have selected 2 cases, one from Canada and one from Germany, that will, in order to present to you how this thing can become real in practice, in real life. So I would like to give the floor now to Mary Gu from the eCampus Ontario, who will tell us the story on how they are implementing this OER Champions program for colleges in Ontario. So feel free to present your story, dear Mary.
Hi, everyone. Just give me 1 second. There we go. I think my screen should be sharing now. Is that correct? Let's see.
Yes, perfect.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Gu, and I am a librarian with the eCampus Ontario Open Library. Today, I'm going to share about the program that Fabio just mentioned, which really was focusing on expanding human capacity for growing open education initiatives and sustaining them. So eCampus Ontario, if you're unfamiliar, is a not-for-profit membership-based organization funded by the province of Ontario in Canada. We convene the entirety of the public post-secondary education sector. So that includes publicly assisted universities, colleges, and Indigenous institutions in the province. As a note, if you're unfamiliar, our Indigenous institutions in Ontario and in Canada are a very important part of the education sector. And as well, they provide a lot of important cultural resources and very important direct to community vocational training. So they're really part of our vocational training landscape in Canada. And we do this and then convene these folks in order to build digital by design educator and learner-centric experiences. So we are a really important part of champion advancing digital participation in post-secondary education so that we can help grow the economy and sustain the sector by connecting Ontario's post-secondary institution and our students to the future of learning and the future of work. So today I'm going to talk about the Open Library, the program that we developed, our approach in it, and the outcomes and what's next. The Open Library has been supporting open education in Ontario since 2017. We do this by providing a digital library of open educational resources, or OER, for the public. We also offer a variety of programs and training that's open to everyone. And we share out our impact tracking stats afterwards, which we can understand the landscape in a snapshot. For our eCampus Ontario members in particular, we provide access to 2 different open publishing tools, and we have work around community building that is still expanding. So as we get into it, I don't think I need to cover this since Lisa already did it so well. But basically, when we think about what an OER is, it's really determined by the access mechanism, by the intended purpose of the resources, and the uses and users that have been identified. So there's lots of advantages for educators and students. So we have we have a lot of advantages, and there's a couple I just want to pull out from my slide here, since Lisa did a really wonderful job of covering, I think, the large view and some really specific items. For educators, one of the things I really want to pull out is the fact that OER can be licensed for reuse and adaptation so that you can more easily update it to the newest industry standards and research in a subject area. For our students, this really dives into that open educational practices aspect of work, which can be an opportunity for students to engage with their instructors and with each other to participate in knowledge creation, and that gives them very practical experience. So for example, we have OERs in our collections that are case studies, research, and materials written with students, and that can go into their portfolio. So it has a really direct connection to their job seeking opportunities. And of course, historically, reducing the cost of education and improving access to education is a major part of the investment and interest in OER. And so we see that open education has always had a really strong connection to those equity-based value systems. And that sounds really great. Why doesn't everyone use OER? Well, in general, faculty report sort of these common challenges for engaging with OER adoption. They feel time constraints. There's so much to do, and it's hard to search for relevant OERs to go through the process of reviewing them, to adapt them to fit their specific teaching context. Sometimes they're worried about the quality of OER in terms of, oh, what if, like, I don't know who made this, or actually sometimes a lot of the concern there is about supplementary materials. You know, they're looking for resources that have some PowerPoint slides, test banks, case studies, things to help improve that teaching experience that reduces the time to prepare the materials for their class. And finally, they report feeling that they don't have enough education or support to engage successfully with OER. And so we kept these challenges in mind as eCampus Ontario was tasked with a major 3-year investment from the Ontario government to expand virtual learning capacity, resources, and supports across all publicly supported post-secondary institutions in our province. And this major investment was announced in December 2020, so lots of impetus there, and the work started in 2021. I can drop some links afterwards as well if you want to learn more about this entire thing. And in 2023-24 was the last year of that major investment, and the Open Library was responsible for 4 major sets of programs, integrating OER program, the OER Rangers, specialized OER and making a bunch of platform upgrades. And the specific one I'm focusing on today is that OER Rangers. So through the OER Rangers, we created English and French training materials on foundational skills in open ed. We made it available through multiple formats, and then we took this training and provided it to more than 80 faculty, staff, and admin across Ontario who applied to become our OER Rangers, also known as our OER champions. Now, this was the final outcome in a quick snapshot, but a lot happened to get us here. So first is the program concept. And through the program concept, we come back to that common challenge that we identified, the one specifically about faculty feeling like they don't have enough education or support to engage with OER. And so we needed to build out a set of foundational training in open education. We want to do this in English and French because in Ontario, we have both languages represented in our institutions. And we also want to work directly with Ontario experts on open education who have already been building and creating open educational initiatives and practices at their institutions. So that's what we did, and I've created the Mastering Open Ed set of training. In this training, we cover the history and context of OER and open ed. We covered licensing, we covered accessibility. We had 2 modules on specific open publishing tools. And then we had a last module on beginning to grapple with, understand open ed initiatives. And the other part, so now that we created this training, was to apply that training into the field. And through that, we use the trainers models to build more OER champions. We want to expand the baseline knowledge of OER in Ontario and give them the information that they can pass on to other colleagues in their institutions. We had a pretty unique opportunity. As mentioned, this was part of a funded program. So we also was able to provide a stipend for this first round in order to give these folks a stipend that recognizes the work that we're asking them to do. And so we also had more extensive expectations of them. So what did that look like? Once we launched this program, we had 146 applications across every single institution in Ontario. We ended up accepting 85, and 80 of them completed the entire program, so meeting all the expectations. And you can see from the pie chart that what that distribution looks like is that our colleges and our Indigenous institutions make up the majority of that. So the expectation for the champions once they were accepted to this program is that they had to finish the training program. And then they had to deliver 2 webinars or in-person workshops on OER creation or adoption to their colleagues. So that way they could really define and refine it to their context. They were expected to help their institution start identifying or even creating support systems for OER. And finally, to participate in a panel discussion on their experience in this program or write a reflection piece if it doesn't fit their schedule. Now, we had these expectations, but as much as possible, we try to be sensitive to the specific context of the champions, because this is applying to such a diverse range of institutions and institutional contexts. So we really work with each of the champions individually to figure out what's the best version of this outcome for them. And so that was the past year. And looking out into this current year, we have 3 major focuses. And the one that I want to highlight is that first one, building human capacity. So we trialed it out, we saw that it can work, and we I saw a really high interest in terms of the application received, but we don't have the same funding as before. So how do we maintain that and continue that work? Which is how we got to Mastering Open Ed as a badged micro-credential. So then it was a process in the past year of like turning a program that we ran the previous year into a micro-credential course with marked activities, so on and so forth. We launched it in fall 2024. We had an English and French facilitated course. We had a 7-week cohorts. It was free to our members, and we reached waitlist very quickly, actually. But now that we're at the end of this cohort, we're doing final markings and about to sign badges. We have some thoughts for the future as well. So for the future, we're thinking about maybe doing an asynchronous only that might be more supportive for folks who have intense workloads or just need a longer time. We also want to make some updates to activities and final assignments so you only really understand after you deliver a course. So I'm really excited about what's possible with this course for supporting open ed growth in Ontario. And if you're curious about looking at what the content is, I will drop some links in our chat, but I also will make these slides available. We have the original versions as press books, so it's very easy to just look at right now. We also have course package versions if you want to upload it into LMS and see how that looks. As a note, both of these are the original release versions, and some of the upgrades, or sorry, some of the changes and edits we've made since delivering this course aren't available yet. I'm still refining what the finalized changes would be, and I think we'll be releasing them maybe February to March-ish. Thanks so much for your time, everyone, and I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mary. I think this is one of the examples of the most complete and holistic projects I've heard about. It's really, you're touching upon all the different components that need to be in place. I mean, from capacity building to rewarding and to motivation mechanisms. So congratulations for this. And just to make another very practical example, Mary was showing the very basic example, was showing these guidelines, these publications at the end. I'm sure these publications are released with an open license, so anybody in the world could take these and legally not only use them, but translate them and legally, let's say, implement similar activities to what is happening in Ontario in your own environment without even asking. Of course, it's always good to ask and to let Mary and the Rangers and the team know that you are taking inspiration, but actually this is the beauty of it. So you could really reuse these and improve these and modify, in many cases, these resources in a totally legal way. I took 30 seconds to let you think about possible questions. I see there are a lot of introductions, but no questions. I saw somebody was sharing the OER world map link. The OER world map has been around for many years. It is actually a world map, a website with the map where you can find a number of OER and open education initiatives, projects, and content all around the world. So I advise that you really spend some time and have a look at that. It's good to really also find things close to your house, to your place of work. Okay, if there are no questions, we will have also time for a debate and maybe a mini debate at the end among the different speakers. So I would like to move to another case, to my friend Ulf Ehlers from the Baden-Württemberg Dual University. I hope yes, and Next Education. Has also been active for many years in the OER field and also active through many projects and has a lot to say. So I would like to hear how you are actually tackling and working with OER, especially in our times of artificial intelligence. Please, Ulf.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here this afternoon with you. Please be patient with me. I'm traveling through Germany in a train, so I hope the line stays strong, but I'm not sure about it, but we will manage. So I would like to talk to you a little bit about an OER initiative, which is targeting AI, artificial intelligence, actually. In recent years, we have, with other European partners, built a strong network in an initiative called Encore. And some of you here in the room also, I saw, were involved in Encore. And so I just wanted to remind us all on this beautiful initiative where we try to work on these different fields, which you see here in this ecosystem picture on the right-hand side, quality and technology and policies for OER. So all the work which I'm presenting to you today is really inspired also by this experiences and visions which we learned from our partners in this network. So our question is really how to use OER to gain AI competence, to become AI literate, how to use OER to learn how to dance with robots. That's really the question. I'm indeed from a university in the south of Germany, and I have an institute which we launched 8 years ago. It's called Next Education, and we do research on the future of higher education and vocational education and training. And our main focus is on researching future skills, actually. So future-proof skills and to build frameworks for teachers, for IT professionals, for the general public, and also for people in this field of AI. We run 2 portals, and the portals are fully OER. So everything you have there, the books, the articles, the videos, the whatever pictures you see there is OER. So you can just go there and download it for free. And I'm also going to provide you all with our slides. So, I hope this is okay. The Johnson Doctor is just telling us a little bit where we go. So the next step I would like to make this new is actually at our new initiative called AI Campus. It is a platform, a nationwide platform, a national education platform in Germany, where you can just go and it's an OER platform, and the platform is about learning materials, OERs, on the very broad topic of AI. You can learn there a lot about, how AI works, how you teach with AI, how you are a good doctor and use AI for being a medicine, how to, program AI, how to, you can learn about AI and ethics and everything else. So I think that's working again. So the general attempt of this platform initiative, which is now running for 5 years, is to foster AI competence. And we do that by providing course materials, videos, online course, podcasts, all the things you can think about. For example, a course on robot learning from a university nearby, or a course on automated machine learning, a course on introduction to AI and entrepreneurship. And you can just enroll in these courses and learn with them just for free. Some of them are just 4 hours or 2 hours. Others are designed to take 2 or 3 weeks. So you can find in this menu here also the levels, formats, languages, and so on. Just go there and have a look. You find courses on a brief history of AI, foundations of artificial intelligence, introduction to machine learning, 1, 2, 3. So you can find basically everything. In vocational education and training in Germany, we have created a network of partners with which we work on this platform. So we ask them and invite them to create materials and to deliver materials, to make materials available on the platform. And these are like chambers of industry and commerce, adult education centers, chambers of crafts and vocational training centers, trade unions and professional associations, discussions about the needs they have for their particular educational programs. And also many universities are on this platform. You cannot read this basically, but you see the shape of Germany here in the middle, and you see that these are all the partners which are actually delivering to this platform the materials. This particular initiative is funded by the German government until the end of this year. And from next year on, for the next 5 years, we are going to put in operation a funding plan, which is working without national funds, but which is working with foundations. So for the next 5 years, we are going to fall out of the fund and support of the German government, but we managed to move the portal and the initiatives around it to be funded through foundations. In addition to that, we're going to have a membership model where organizations can become platinum members and then can also get services, curricular development, quality assurance, and so on, so that this works actually for the next years as well. This initiative also allowed us in the last 2 years to do research on AI competencies. That's what I want to talk to you about in the remaining 5 minutes. The model which we were able to develop has 12 different competency or research materials or research reports, big research reports, presentations, video clips around this model actually. Also learning objectives which we developed from these competencies at this URL, so ai-comp.org. The question was, of course, which skills do you think, or which that was our question when we started the research, but I want to also ask you, which skills for an AI-shaped world do we need? And I would like to encourage you to type this into the chat while I continue talking, so we can become a little bit an interactive exchange on which are the skills which do you think which you need specifically for the AI transformation, which we are more and more experiencing. The research which we conducted was a quantitative research, and we built a questionnaire with 12 questions because in our research design, in the activities to interview activities, qualitative preparation for the survey, we could explore AI competencies and prepare a preliminary model of 12 different competency fields. So these 12 different competency fields were the basis. And we asked questions about these 12 different competency fields. We always ask 3 questions. We had 1,644 respondents, 12 times 3 questions. That made 59,184 data points. 12 questions for each competency field. 3 questions we asked for each of these competency fields, 1,644 respondents. So that was our sample. And the data points we could develop from that or derive from that. And then we used statistical modeling with principal component analysis to find the structures in this data. And we were really able to construct a quantitative competence model with these 12 fields in the end. So what you see here as a final result is actually a model which has 3 layers. A top layer where we have 3 basic competencies, the middle layer, which you see here with the 12 competency field, and then a lower layer, which again has for each of these 12 competency fields, 1, 2, 3, or 4 particular specific items. We usually like to present this only on this level of granularity. So have a look at these 12 competency fields. I see that this is actually the German translation, so I can find the English translation. This is the English translation. Yeah. So you can see here that you have critical competencies like ethical competencies, notice the point when the AI application is taking over decision that's behind this self-determination, or active control competencies that you can use AI systems specifically for your purpose. Critical thinking. Number 4, also critical digital competencies, that you understand the software mechanisms behind the applications that you are using, but also on a larger view, system design competencies to be able to understand how AI can be used within your organization, within your company, within the processes you are working on or in your company. Also communication competence. It's so difficult for some people, for many people actually, to really discuss and talk about new technologies and how they influence their everyday life or their work life, and so on and so on. Each of these fields is defined with a definition, comes with a definition. It comes also with a set of literature references so that you can also see what other competence frameworks are telling about this particular competency field. And it comes with an operationalization into bringing it into education and learning contexts. So we were explicitizing knowledge, skills, and attitudes for each of these competency fields. So you're invited to have a look. This is the model, and you're also invited to have a look, of course, into the portal which I showed you, the OER repository, the AI Campus platform. And you're invited to go to the AI Comp portal and download all our reports if you're interested in the study. Here on the slide, they are in German, but they are all available also in English translation. And that's from my side. Thank you very much for your attention and the time. I'm happy to contribute to this this forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ulf. I think, let's say, the connection between OER and digital content in general and AI and competencies is actually the key question of our time. In the OER debate among experts and academics, I heard people saying, in the future, there will be no more need for instructors to write, to create content. Everything will be created by AI. So we will all be just designers. But in that case, how can we define the quality of a learning experience? So it's, I think we are living interesting times, and this is actually the core of the debate, especially when you bring in the competencies to work with AI in inclusive and innovative ways. Actually, there are a few questions that I would like to put to the three of you. So I would like to get back Lisa into the picture, and then Ulf and Mary. Basically, the few questions have to do with how to create capacity among instructors and lecturers to work on OER. I've always believed, and Ulf, you know it very well since the time of the Open Educators Factory, that educators are the key for this thing to happen. I mean, you can have the best policy in an institution, even in a country, but if you don't convince your educators, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a bit artificial. At least this is. So I've always believed that. And then on one side you have the capacity building, so the technical capacity to use open licenses, to use open teaching methods, and to change your teaching thanks to that. But at the same time, you have also an attitude change. I don't know how to change of mindset somehow. So a few participants actually are asking if I can paraphrase where to start. So if you have, imagine a technical school, a vocational school, and you want to bet, you want to really invest starting from the educators, what would you do? Let's start with you, Ulf. You have been actually in leadership position in a very large technical schools or technical universities. So what advice would you give?
I think the most important, apart from all things which you can read in books, to incentivize, to value your educators, etc., to provide a technical infrastructure, who have intellectual property rights regulations in place, and so on. This is all super important. But the most important, I think, in my experience, is to bring people together around this issue of sharing educational content. So what we really did, and what was where we invited teachers of similar subjects to share what they wanted to share, and to show their slides, to show their video clips, to show their material, to show their test questions are really a banner for educators, because they have to do them every day new. So if you create a pool and this really brings them close, makes them trust each other and in a sharing mood. And once they have done that and they start to share, maybe not even open with the world, but first in their club, once they have done that, they are more and more getting into the habit of sharing and using OER also from the outer world and sharing. So that was really an advice which I've heard.
Thank you very much. Lisa, I see you unmuted yourself, so you can go next.
Yes, I would certainly agree with that. That often, if they're reluctant to get together and share, once they start to share with each other and they see the impact on their students, they see how their students are more engaged, and they also see for themselves how, if they have to be creating a new course or a new program, that when they do this in a collaborative environment, it is much easier than if they had to do it by themselves. So they have to try it to understand it, and when they do and they see the impact of it, that's when I think things really accelerate. The other piece that I think is very important is librarians. And librarians are kind of the secret sauce in many of the formal institutions, both in higher ed as well as K-12, because librarians are the ones who have been thinking across contexts of what's good, how do you vet content, where do you find it, and there is a whole librarian community that has been created in OER. So one of the first things we do now, and we train a lot of faculty and teachers in OER, is we often pair them up or connect them with library programs as well.
Very, very important, actually, the role of librarians in countries where you have let's say, where librarians have the status and the capacity to actually, contribute to that. And I don't think this happens. I've always been I've had a very high sense of admiration for those countries where librarians can do that. In other countries, they don't have this leverage, I would say. But yes, absolutely, great point. Mary, are you still with us? I cannot. Yes, I see you there. Please, what would be your secret sauce? I like the metaphor of the secret sauce by.
I guess some of my secret sauce is much the similar things that also Lisa has pointed out. That community aspect is really important. People need to feel supported within their context. And I also, and that's something that we kind of thought about a lot when we were changing the course to deliver to a public cohort. We explicitly called out faculty, so instructors, staff, so those are instructional designers, librarians, as well as some graduate students to come and join this first public cohort, because those are the people who, when they gain the skills, they bring it back to their environment. And that's a really important part of it. And then the other thing I might, I think about that we have started talking about with some of our faculty folks who are maybe a little bit hesitant, a little worried about getting started, is that open is a journey. You don't have to go all or nothing all at once. I think that kind of reduces some of the pressure of feeling like, oh, I have to change my entire course to be open in order to do open. That's not true. You can start with including a renewable assignment. And I think that's like one of those open educational practices that really resonates for instructors and teachers. A renewable assignment is an assignment wherein it has an impact in a consequence outside of the course. So for example, things where like you're building a portfolio. So we see that in some subject areas more than others. But how can you turn your specific area into something that has that renewable assignment? So a student can add it to the portfolio, because that has a really learning outcomes and student outcomes impact that I think a lot of educators really connect with. So it can be, you can start your open journey step by step. It doesn't have to be, you have to switch your entire course all at once, because that can feel very onerous. And also in some educational context, if you have a curriculum developer or a quality assurance aspect that you have to make, it's not that simple, so those are the things that I would bring up.
Thank you very much, and also thank you for bringing in the importance of assessment and of the concept of renewable assignment. That is assignments, as you say, with an impact on the external world. It's absolutely very interesting, especially for the vet world, because it will be also a way to demonstrate skills. I'm tempted to go for a very last quick question to the three of you, because Nozippo mentioned the importance of policies in institutions that should be developed for copyright. I'm sure that you have been not only within institutions, but also advising on how to build those policies, and you must be familiar with all the different UNESCO guidelines to create policies and so on. So now put yourself into the shoes of the director of a vet school, somebody who would say, and keep in mind also that many people from here are from transition economies. So put yourself in the shoes of somebody who would like to invest. Let's say that we convinced everybody in this virtual room. We are more than 60 people now, but let's say a manager, a leader of a school should take some first steps, and I'm not sure that designing a policy from scratch would be the easiest solution. You need to, I guess, some advocacy, or you need to consult. So in a school where OER is totally absent as a concept, maybe some instructors are using maybe some digital content, maybe some open licenses, maybe they don't care, but they're using it without even knowing, as it happens many times. But let's say you are the manager, the leader. What would you do? What do you suggest to our participants that they should do to take the first steps for this policy implementation? Mary, I have you on the screen, so I can start with you.
Okay, I'll do my best. I would say that you have to consider where are the pain points for your institution? What are the core concerns amongst your staff and your student population that you're trying to address? I think policy implementation is most effective when people, the recipients of that policy who have to live by that policy, can connect it to a core issue that they are feeling the pain of. So maybe that is the cost of education or access to education in your student population. Maybe that is concerns around not replicating and duplicating work, and therefore the open licensing aspect can be very meaningful. Or perhaps the concern is commercial products have really restrictive and costly requirements in order for you to make a material accessible. And that is the core issue. So if you frame your policy decisions related to a core issue that your staff, faculty, or students are dealing with, I think that will pave the way for that policy, and also may give you more of a direction of how that policy moves forward, because it could be that affordability issue that we talked about. And it could be broader than just specifically OER, or it could be through the teaching practices. So I would say start from there.
Okay, so finding alternative routes where to embed, I think it's a very smart way. Elisa, please.
Yeah, I definitely want to echo the points that Mary just made as well. But in addition to that, I think it is important to start at the value, at the place of value for that organization. So, for example, you mentioned briefly, Mary, about commercialization. What is the position that you want to be taking on that? Yes or no? What about data privacy? What about the provenance of information? What about data sovereignty? Who owns your data? So I think today we have to just make sure that we're making these decisions or these policies based on what these values are of our institutions, as opposed to just being very excited about the concepts and putting these concepts in place without making sure those values are aligned. I did put a link up above about some guiding principles for AI in open, just as a starting point. It's what was the values of our organization, so it's certainly not for everybody, but it was a way for us to begin to kind of articulate what those things are. And as we're making policies around what we're going to do with AI, and we're already experimenting and applying it in several different ways, we want to make sure that we are aligned with the values of open.
Absolutely. Well, you make it look very sensible and very easy, but those are very, very valid point. Ulf, just to close this mini debate, and thank you to all for this.
Thank you. I just remembered, Fabio, we were once having a European project together, and the result of this European project was a game, and that was the Open Game Project. And the game was about a teacher who wanted to use OER in his institution, but the institution didn't have a policy. And you can play this game and you can find out what we would advise by playing this game, how to build a policy. For me, just 2 points. One point is funding. You can think about funding in the way that, for example, reducing teaching load of teachers for a certain time in order for them to develop open content to share with their peers, with other teachers. And the second thing is that I think you would need, or what would be smart is to define points in the curriculum for the programs which can be supported through OER system, but systematically through OER. These are 2 very practical points which we also did in our institution, which turns out that they really drive this reducing teaching load if teachers develop content and share content. And the second thing is developing content for curricula which really can substitute certain points in the curriculum of the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much also for having anticipated the final debate. Actually, I think we already got a lot of ideas here. Now, I would like to move to the last phase of this webinar, where we will hear from the voice of 2 institutions that are actually supporting OER adoption and OER implementation across the globe. I would like to start with another Ehlers, so Max Ehlers, not Ulf this time, from UNESCO UNEVOC. And Max, you are invited to share with us your work in terms of practices collection and your work in terms of OER support within vocational training and beyond. Floor is yours. I see the screen, but it's still black. I don't know if it is me.
No, it's black here as well.
Okay. Max? Max, can you hear me? Last call for Max, otherwise we'll go with Ebba first and then Max after.
Max has gone on mute, I see.
Yeah, is mute or unmute?
Oh, he's mute. And
okay.
ask him to activate audio, but maybe there's something that is going wrong with his computer. Oh, here he is.
Okay.
Now? Oh,
yes,
okay.
Now we can.
I don't know what happened. My screen all of a sudden froze.
Don't worry, go ahead.
Right, now it says your screen sharing is paused. I don't know how to start it again. You can't see my screen, right?
I can see your screen. Yes, I can see the handbook.
Oh, the handbook. Yes, good. Okay, all right. I'm so sorry. This is really strange. You're not supposed to see the handbook, but rather our homepage, UNESCO UNIVOC. So
it is the page. Sorry, but it's the page.
It's fine. No. Okay, sorry for that. So yes, UNESCO UNIVOC. We are the UNESCO's International Center for Technical and Vocational Education and Training, and we support UNESCO member states in their efforts to strengthen and upgrade their TVET systems. So basically what we are doing is we bring people together, like Ulf said, we bring TVET actors together from all over the world together to share experiences and knowledge. And in the area of OER, of course, we're trying to infect the global TVET community with the open education virus. Now, as part of our mandate, we have a clearinghouse function and offer information on TVET to the global community. That's why I opened our website. So from that website, you have access to resources such as TVET country profiles, a glossary of TVET terms, collections of TVET toolkits, of digital competence frameworks, etc. So please take a look. What I'd like to do today is briefly show you two services. One is the collection of innovative and promising practices. So in here we have like more than 100 practices of TVET institutions that address contextual challenges. We try to present the enabling conditions for success in addressing certain issues, and they provide a snapshot of the positive impact that these practices have on communities. And so, for example, we can search for OER here, which will filter it down to 4 practices that in one way or other deal with OER, and you can see quite prominently here the eCampus and Torio practice of dealing with the OER rangers. And I'm really thankful for this collaboration with ETF, because that's how we actually identified this promising practice, as we call it. And I'm very thankful for eCampus and Ontario that they are willing to share their knowledge, and thank you, Mary, for presenting it here today. So what you have in this collection is that you always have a short summary in a PDF document that you can open and then also print out and share, etc. Right, and it's really in a nutshell. Why can't I go back? Okay, the whole practice in a nutshell, with links, with contact information, etc. Very soon, we'll also have another OER here that is going to be shared with us from the Milwaukee area technical college, where they're using OER, particularly in terms of under the heading of inclusion, really to save costs and to provide people with not too expensive education who would otherwise be in trouble. The other resource I'd like to show to you is our open educational resources list. Of course, with a focus on TVET. This does not mean that all of these resources are entirely about technical and vocational education and training. And it's not all of these are, strictly speaking, OER. It has been mentioned before that maybe it's not so important that they always meet all the conditions that you want to have in an ideal OER. So what we do here is that we specify, so you have a short description. You see here what kind of content you can find in each of these services. You have an overview of what kind of languages you have, and of course, it looks great, and it's also nice to align them with the SDGs. And if you go to any of these, I thought I would go to something down there.
I'm very sorry to interrupt you, but your slides are not changing.
Oh, you're not seeing my screen?
We are seeing your screen, but still they say the first page handbook. They're not changing.
Oh no. Okay. Thank you for saying that, and I'll reshare and hope that you now see the right thing. Right. Okay. Do you now see a list of OER?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Right. So here you have a. Thanks for saying that. So, as I said, you have a short description of each of these resources. You have a description of what kind of resources you can find there, the languages, and you have the SDGs that they're aligned with. And I wanted to go down and select, right, for example, the CVET learning. You'll know many of these, and you'll probably also miss many resources that should be here. So we're always welcoming additions to the platform, and please let us know. So here, just as an example, the CVET learning platform. Southeast Asia VET. What you can see here that, for example, this is free access, not OER. You can find courseware here. It's addressed to different target audiences. And that's also nice. You have tags down here, and you can click on any of these to then get, for example, you're interested in 21st century skills, then you'll find a list of those which we have tagged 21st century skills. And you can thus continue looking for such content. Right, and since you didn't see my screen earlier, I just want to go quickly back to the innovative and promising practices. Do you see that list? Okay, good. So in here, you can find, for example, the contribution from eCampus Ontario right here. And you all know how to use such services, so there should be no problem. Thank you. Back to Fabio. I'll stop sharing.
Thank you very much. Actually, this is a wealth, I think, of stories and resources. Just one important caveat: once you start being infected with the OER virus, as Max was mentioning, you will start with a lot of enthusiasm. You will start with your first repository and with a lot of positive feeling. Then you will see that it's not so easy to find exactly the content that you are looking for, that you are thinking that should be there. Maybe it's not at that level, maybe it's not in that language you wanted, and so on. So typically we have seen that after the first wave of enthusiasm, educators, okay, now this is not for me. So my advice there is keep doing it. Take some time. Don't think that, all these different repositories that Max was showing are all perfect for you. But so you need some time. You need actually to really to do some mistakes, to find things that are not perfect for you. But then you will the more you dive, the more you dig, the more you will find interesting and important things for your work. So don't lose patience. Why I think patience when looking for open content, for digital content is very important. And then we have here some more comments. Yes, Holly likes the OER virus. I think it's a very nice metaphor. And now, last speaker, we have Ebba Olsian-Nilsson from ICDE, the International Council for Distance Education, who will tell us what this very broad and very important network working on distance and open and innovative education is doing, again, to push for OER. I saw an elephant in the room, so floor to you, dear Ebba.
Thank you so much, Fabio, for the very kind invitation to this very promising webinar. It is really, really important and very timely. And also thanks for the introduction. And thanks to my co-speakers earlier today for this webinar. I can't more than agree what you have said. And I will add to that and also maybe stress something what has already been said. So yes, I am a professor in innovation in open online learning. I'm based in Sweden, and here I'm representing ICDE, International Council for Open and Distance Education, OER, Open Education Resources Advocacy Committee, which I have been chairing since 2017. So we have been working for quite many years by now, and I will tell you more about that. So first of all, very brief about what is ICDE. We are saying that we can all transform the world to inclusive education, and that's why open and distance education is so important. It's also said by UNESCO that this is the only way to reach SDG 4, education for all, not leaving anyone behind, with open education and with OER. So ICT has worked with UNESCO since its very beginning. We are the oldest and largest organization in the world. We celebrated last year 85 years old anniversary. So we are the leading global membership organization working to bring quality education to all. You see all our members are here, all the dots. So what are we doing? We are really, as I said, working with UNESCO and special, of course, the focus on the sustainable development goal number 4, but also, as we know, number 4 was dedicated to be an all one, because through education we can reach, have an impact and influence all the other 16. I think this is very, very important. So we have 350 plus members and partners. We are from 70 countries around all the regions. And to our members, we have an impact of over 15 million students across the continents. That is quite a lot of people. And we also know that change is not made by policies, and strategies, etc. Change is made by people. What also ICD is doing is, of course, very, very much about open education. And Ulf Ehlers already mentioned the Encore Plus project, which was coordinated by ICDE, and he showed very nice pictures of the 5 areas about technology, policy and practices, OER innovation and business models, and quality. And at the final conference we had, we also added about beyond and core plus, about OER, about AI, and what is the future bringing to us. So before I will mention something about the OER Advocacy Committee, I will also say that next week we will launch our new strategy for ICDE from 2025 to 2028, and that is very much about together we can shape inclusive, scalable, and sustainable education. And as said already, we can do that through open education. And we can do that through our core values, which also was mentioned and stressed by Lisa. And for ICD, we built on the 4 C's, about culture of care, about curiosity, and about challenge. And by saying that, it is important to stress that OER is not an end goal as such. It is due to higher values, and that is about democracy, inclusiveness, diversity, bringing everyone on board, providing open education quality for all, and also to stress about the lifelong learning. And I will argue that what is paid by tax money should go back to taxpayers, and that's one of the value propositions. And also, the real challenge with OER and open education is to go beyond the institutions. Unfortunately, we are very much talking about what is happening in the vet sector, higher education, K-12, etc. But the real challenge is to go out to the people, for the people. So LCD has always had openness as a core value, and for that, some years ago, they launched the OER Advocacy Committee, and as I said, I have been sharing that since 2017, and we are working with collaborators around the 6 regions. So those are my team, the persons in my team for the moment, and we will end our mandate period now in December this year, as we are going on to work with a new strategy. And I am sure that it will continue one or another way, but we will see how it will be. But openness is a core value still for ICD, so it will be something further on. In case you have an interest to contact my colleagues, they are representing all the 6 regions, as I said. So you can just contact them directly, or you can contact me. So what kind of activities are we doing? We are, our first task actually was to comment on the UNESCO OER recommendation. And we know that that was launched in 2019. And one of our tasks now recently was to comment on the new declaration, the Dubai OER declaration for the common good. So we could provide some input for ICD to answer that at global consultation. We're also presenting at international conferences. I was, for example, last week together with Lisa, were there as well at the UNESCO conference about this the Dubai Declaration Congress. We're organizing webinars. We are developing lots of articles and research on OER and openness, and now recently also about AI. And today, actually, we are launching at this webinar, we are launching our OER Knowledge Hub, and I will talk more about that. So that are some of our activities. This is the OER Knowledge Hub. And as you can see, it is divided into the what is OER, why OER, and how to apply OER and where to find. It is not a repository as such, but it is about, I think I was cutting out, so can you still see my screen? Yes. Yes or no?
Yes. We see the hub.
Yes. Sorry. I think we are short of time, so I will not go through the hub as such. But you can click here, and it is around those questions. I have to go back to the presentation because I clicked on the link.
Yeah, in the meantime, let me echo Maria, who is thanking everyone, especially Anna from ICD, for posting all these resources, and Max. This chat is super rich. I need to save the chat for the future.
So this will be a work in progress. We launched today the more global initiatives, what is out there already, but we're also working on regional and national initiatives, and also in different kind of languages, as our ambassadors have a rich flora of different kind of languages to provide. Both the OER word map and the OER Commons and the work by Ontario is there, so you can recognize that there as well. We also have a forthcoming webinar about, that is also what the ICD is working on, Ask the Experts. We have also another committee which are working on quality, and we had a webinar recently about Ask the Experts about quality, and on the 10th of December, we are having a webinar, Ask the OER Advocacy Experts, Advocacy Committee Experts. So me and some others will be there. We will have short presentations, but it's mainly for the participants to ask and to discuss and to have a dialogue. So please register for that. I will say something shortly about the challenges, and that is actually what I presented last week at the Dubai conference. And it was based on the forthcoming Dubai Declaration about OER recommendation. And it is about Room X. It is about right-based open accessibility and multi-stakeholders dimensions. It is about a digital public good, because that is what openness and OER is about. And everything is based on the OER recommendation from 2019. And that is important because that can show us and help us to see the ecosystem of openness and OER about sustainability, scalability, inclusion, accessibility, diversity, ethics, and well-being, not at least. And as you see, I have also listed, which is also in the OER recommendation, or some of the other SDGs which are very, very close related to OER, as I mentioned before. This is the draft which is stands now, and that was actually out already during the Congress, the very last hour. So it is still work in progress. But it is very much about what both Lisa and myself have been discussing about the core value proposition about openness and OER, and that can't be stressed enough. And also very much to extend the stakeholders. Leadership, for example, librarians, as we have been talking about here. There was also a presentation last week at the Congress, and I also, just before this meeting, attended Open Education for a Better World Eduscope conference, and the OER shares around the globe. They are very, very happy on this area. what will OER bring us for the future in the area of AI? And this is really a hot topic, and we don't know exactly how it will unfold. But clear is, and it was discussed just before this meeting with this EduScope conference, but also last week at the UNESCO conference about the licenses we have. We are quite used to have the 5 R's, but maybe 6 will be mentioned as well, and that is about retraining. And that is due to AI. I have a lot to say about AI because our committee is doing a lot of research on that for the moment, but I will not go into that now. But what they are saying is that content and models and applications really need to be in the ecosystem of OER and open sources. So by saying that, we need to address the elephant in the room. Yes, Fabio, you saw that picture, the first one, because the elephant is here to stay. We have to address it, him or she or what it is, because it will change the way we are learning, performing, living together, etc., and not at least what open education is about. So coming to close, because I know that time is more or less finishing, is about our next upcoming conference from ICDE. It will be held in New Zealand, in Wellington, on the 10th to 13th of November. So by that, thank you so much. And here are my contact profiles. So you're very much welcome to contact us from the OER Advocacy Committee.
Thank you very much, Ebba, and thank you also to your ICD colleagues who were posting stuff as you were speaking. So it was really a joint presentation. So I will save the chat, I think, for the first time in my life in Zoom, because it's really rich in terms of.
Thank you so much for posting the links. Yeah, all the links are also in my presentation.
Exactly. So thank you very much, and also for this mini insight on the Dubai conference. Just for all of you to know, UNESCO is actually driving sort of the international debate on OER. They created, as Lisa was saying, the first definition, and then is organizing these OER World Congresses. One was in Slovenia a few years ago, and this year is in Dubai, and these are, I think, the ways to keep the OER flame alive in times where other issues and other themes like generative AI are also very high in the debate on education and digitalization. So I think great, Ebba, that you also contextualize this. Now, I think we still have more than 50 people with us, and I would like to open the floor for the last round of questions, because it's already 4:31, and I've seen a number of thank you and many thumbs up. So I think there will be a lot of digestion need after all this information. My personal plea for all these initiatives, especially for this the new OER hub by ICDE, and congratulations for that. I didn't know that you had prepared that, is to keep the vocational training field into the picture as much as possible, because we know it's a field that is has different dynamic with respect to higher education, but also it's a field that is so much connected to the world of work and to the immediately connected to the world of work that actually can benefit even more, if I can say so, than higher education. So since I work strongly in the vet field, I see more and more of this detachment from the debate. So let's try with this webinar, and I know that UNEVOC and Max is working in this field since as a mission. But let's try to keep vet and technical education into the picture. There is a very difficult question: how to start with OER where there is no connection. If you're referring to internet connection, I don't know if somebody has a solution there. I know about some OER low bandwidth projects in the past, especially the OER Africa platform is designed through that. But I don't know if you have some comments on this question by Santoni. So I think he is referring to very low connectivity environment.
Can I say something about that?
Of course.
It's a very good point, because sometimes we take for granted that OER is the same as online material, but it is not. It is not. It is in the definition. I think it was also clear with your definition, Lisa, when you showed that. I don't remember exactly, but anyway, UNESCO's definition is about that open education resources can be in any kind of format and any kind of media. So it doesn't mean to be online. There is a misunderstanding about that. Thank you.
And if I may,
Please.
one additional point. So there's always the possibility, as has been mentioned in the chat, to download, copy. I mean, the right to retain is an integral part of OER, and share. But of course, that also requires the devices you need for that. But I think what's even more important is to think education as a journey towards openness, as a collaborative thing. I've heard these stories of education happening where students have to buy the yellow papers because otherwise they can't pass exams, and that's the opposite of open education. The idea is that educators would work together in education and involve students ideally. And whether you have internet, of course, I mean, it's so much easier if you have internet. We have to admit that, but because then you have access to an enormous library. But even if not, I think the philosophy behind it is very, very important, that educators and students need to work together to learn together and make use of any possibility to get by knowledge and share that knowledge amongst each other.
Yeah, exactly. And I was posting also a link to some low tech and high impact practices that we have been collecting, starting from the area of STEAM education, because we believe that more and more we should not give the internet for granted. But again, as Eba was saying, and Max as well, OER is not only about high tech. It's really about it's different approach to education. You can do OER with paper, and that's perfectly, and photocopy, it's perfectly feasible. So that's not about technology, even if technology, of course, can help a lot, especially in the vet field as well. Thank you very much to all of you for keeping on posting things. I see conferences appearing here, events, examples of OER. Thank you, Lisa, and so on and so forth. But I think through the slides that we will share in the website of the ETF Community of Innovative Educators, and that we will share with all of you following this email, you will find the email addresses and all the links that were shared. We might be sharing the chat as well, I think, as a file, so that you can find everything that was also shared there. And I think we have enough to read for the next 6 months, I think. So I don't know if we'll need to digest all of this, but given the high interest, I think, and I'm now looking into the friends' eyes of Max and the colleagues, but maybe another webinar would make sense in a few months from now to keep on, let's say, pushing for this, maybe with other cases extracted from the work of UNEVOC and ICD. I mean, I think these events are rather easy to organize and quite impactful, at least in terms of knowledge sharing. So just anticipating that you might hear back from us again with this, maybe also with some cases we could think about low tech and low connectivity. Why not? This is also would be a nice entry point. So thank you very much to all the speakers, to Ulf, to Max, to Lisa, to Mary, to Ebba. I think I didn't forget anybody. Thank you to Roberto and Steps for helping us, and to my colleague at the ETF for making this happen. And I see you next time. And happy OER to everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
Amen.